Welcome to What the World Needs Now with hosts Tom Whisinnand and Josh Monroe. In this episode, Christy Fernandez, an outstanding educator from Nevada, talks about how important building a community of learners is in a classroom and the power of modeling emotional intelligence. Ms. Fernandez also talks about the power of meetups in building relationships with students.
Christy, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. For our listeners that don't have the privilege of knowing who you are, where you're from, what your story is, give us a little bit of an elevator pitch.
All right, so my name is Christy Fernandez. I'm from Reno, Nevada. I wasn't really born in Reno, Nevada. I have an accent, so you'll know it's not really a Reno, Nevada accent. I was born in South America, moved to United States 30 years ago, actually. So a long time. I feel like I've been here more than where I was in South America. I am a teacher, coach. I'm a harmony educator. I am, like a lot of kids say, I do it all. And I love it. So I've been teaching for 19 years and I teach all grade levels, and I teach at a bilingual school that is K-8. So I'm exposed to little tiny creatures that I always call in middle schoolers. So yeah, and I love it.
You run the gamut there, kindergarten to grade 8. All kinds of personalities and egos and little humans trying to figure out everything.
We're a small school. We're only 500 kids, but I mean, it doesn't seem like a small school, but we're pretty small. But I have to tell you, I mean, I love all the kids, like K-8. I never thought that I was going to love middle school as much as I love it here. So, and I get the chance and opportunity to work with all the kids and all the teachers. So I'm pretty lucky. I'm very lucky.
How do you balance that, though? Because, I mean, when you walk down the halls and you got little kids like my 4-year-old, and then you got those big kids that are sitting there too big for their britches, how do you balance that? How do you find love with the little kids and the big guys?
Believe it or not, I would say kindergartens are very much like 8th graders, They all like attention. So I think I'm used to it. I think it's all about like getting to their level, I talk with little kids about what they like. I mean, I have like this little kindergarten who loves to talk about trucks. And then I go into the middle school and I start talking to them about sports and the school dance. So, for me, I mean, I think they're the same. I love them all. It doesn't matter. But I do see a lot of resemble between my kindergarten and my 8th graders. So
I love it because I think humans are humans and that we all want to feel loved and cared for and heard, and we want to know that we matter to other people. Tell us a little bit about your journey into education and what made you want to be around little humans who are trying to figure out who they are.
So, funny story, I did not want it to be a teacher. When I was younger, I used to play like I was a teacher. I remember playing by myself and pretending that I was, teaching and grading papers. That is like the funniest thing, that I will just pretend that I was grading papers. But I wanted to be a lawyer, and my dad it's a lawyer, and my mom was a professor at the university college level. So I grew up wanting to be a lawyer, and everybody always said to me, like, no, you have something special with kids. And I was like, well, what is it? What is it that I have? And everybody was like, it's something. The way you connect with kids is just something that we can't explain. So then I applied to college, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go and I'm going to become a teacher. But my first class that I had in education, we were in this big room. There was like 150 students, 150 people that wanted to be a teacher. And the professor said, I'm going to go one by one, and I'm going to ask each of you why you want to be a teacher. And I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like, what do you want me to say? And I start hearing all these people getting up and like, I want to inspire, I want to change, I want to, be a role model and blah, blah, blah. And it's my turn to get up, and I just get up and said, I just love kids. I just want to be around kids. I want to be, that friend. I want to inspire them. I want to be a good role model. I said, that's why I want to be a teacher. I don't know if I'm going to change their lives, but I know that they changed my life. So that was my little story about how I became a teacher. So I went into school and graduated and got a job right away. Haven't stopped.
I remember when I was in fourth grade and my teacher was pretty much like that. Like, I can't remember what he taught me or anything that we did. I just remembered that he loved us, right? He was just there for us. He played with us. He did everything that we needed as 9-year-old kids. Is that kind of how you feel?
Yeah.
He is?
And funny enough, I was just at a training last week, a mentoring program to mentor teachers, and they asked me, wow, who is that teacher that completely changed you? And I made the connection for the first time after many, many years that the teacher that connected me was the teacher that taught the subject that I disliked the most in school. But that was the teacher that I loved. That's the teacher that made me feel like I want to be like her one day. And it was my math teacher in elementary school. So without realizing, I made that connection just last week when I was in this training. I was like, oh my God, it was that person that took time to teach me, to show me strategies, to make me feel that I could do it. That was the teacher that, was my favorite teacher, the teacher that taught math, So it was a pretty kind of cool and funny connection. Like, wow, didn't realize for so many years. So
That is really remarkable. You find something that is a challenge, and you find something that maybe you don't connect with, and there's another human there to really help you through it. And it's amazing that that human connection is what you remember, and they kind of flavored your then like or dislike whatever to math.
And she didn't make me feel like I was, like an outsider. I mean, her passion was math. My passion wasn't math. It's not math. I'm not gonna lie. But as a teacher, I made sure that I teach math in ways that I can inspire other kids. I'm very visual. I think about how they learn and what they need. And this teacher took that time to get to me. She didn't just say, I'm not gonna spend time because you're not gonna get it. She actually was the opposite. She was like, come and talk to me. Let me show you strategies. You can do this. You might not get it now, but you will be getting it later. So she never gave up on me. And that was the teacher that inspired me the most.
I always think it's weird when we reflect and think back on our own education or how we were as teachers. The way that we play off what we're teaching really does impact our kids. I think about how I was with grammar. I hate teaching grammar because I don't really understand everything in the English language. In my first couple of years, I let my kids know that with the way that I presented myself, so they didn't care about it.
No.
Then their writing reflected that.
Yeah.
But when we show them that this is important because, and we don't even have to say it, we just do it with the way that we model it, everything changes, right? The way that we model for our kids changes.
Well, I think that the whole thing now is not just the academics, but how do you motivate kids? And when you do that, you're able to teach them. And for me, that teacher motivated me, and because she made me feel like I could do whatever, I put that extra effort and time to do that content that, I didn't really care. And then today, that's what I do. That's what I've been doing in my years of teaching is, if I want my kids to learn, I need to inspire them. And sharing my own story, math was hard for me. Coming to another country, learning a new language was hard for me. If I did it, you can do it, and the cool thing is I always tell the kid is that we're together, like 50-50. I'm here to help you. I'm not expecting you to give me 100 by yourself. I'm going to give you the 50%. You give me the other. Together, we are 100%. So
that's so powerful, understanding and getting kids to really understand that, one, they are responsible for their learning, right? But then also it's big time on the adults in their lives to find ways to connect, to inspire. So if somebody's listening and they're like, yo, I do want to inspire, I do want to connect, but I'm not exactly sure how I can do that, what advice do you have for them? Or what are some concrete ways that we could inspire or connect with students before we try to give them the academic skills?
I think for me, it's always been very important making connections, letting to know that you're human, that you're a person, having the kids get to know you, they know you, they feel comfortable and they open up and then they trust you. And I think that some of the issues that we have is a lot of kids have a hard time trusting their adults, trusting their teachers, and I always say, you're here with me more than you'll be at home with parents, so trust me, I'm here to support you. I think the whole word that it's so used is inspire your kids to learn, but not just in my way. It's inspire them to learn in different ways. I'm not here to tell you this is the way you need to do math or this is the way you need to write. Inspire them that they have access to all this knowledge, and that I'm going to be helping them and showing them that I'm going to be their number one cheerleader the whole way. So for me, that's being always very, very important to share with them that I believe in them, and that no matter what they do, I'm going to be there to support them.
I think that when we believe in kids, they start to grow that confidence. But the other part of what you're saying is that when you're the guide on the side, then they start to understand that they are owners in their own learning, right? When they've got somebody in front barking, wah, 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 the Charlie Brown teacher, when you've got that, you tune it out. But when you've got the guide on the side that's there for you, that's in your corner, ready to fight for you, to back you up with what you believe, to show you and push you to be better, man, then you've got a powerful adult in your life.
Yeah. And I think the whole thing about trusting, like as a teacher, we get manuals, we have to follow all these things. And for me, it's like, no, we need to personalize the instruction that we're giving to kids. And we have so many kids that learn in different ways. It's my job to get to them. So they trust me when they know that what I'm teaching them or the activity that I'm giving them or the project that I'm giving them is because it's something that is going to help them and support them. So I think it's very important for us to differentiate, the work that we do. And I think differentiate the relationship too that we have. Some kids need more than others, and it's okay.
100%.
Differentiation is huge. And differentiating, I absolutely can't get enough of what you said there. Differentiating instruction is important, but differentiating relationships. And I think about Josh and his work with the love languages and how maybe some people don't like recognition, to be called out in front of the class. Maybe it's just slipping them a note or a Post-it note or, like understanding each little human or human in our class is huge and giving them what they need, not just academically, but socially and emotionally and, giving them the recognition in the right way at the right time is huge. So kudos to you for really kind of
and giving them a space, and give them a place that they feel safe, to make mistakes, but at the same time feeling safe to share their emotions. I have my first year of teaching was the year probably that I learned the most. I taught at a charter school that was taking a lot of the students that or schools didn't want. They were considered behavior students. So that was my first year of teaching. And I became a second grade teacher in that school. And my counselor came as a brand new, teacher. She comes with this big bucket. And she said, this is your file with all the behavior students that you have in your class. And I'm thinking it's like one or two files that she just carried the big bucket. I opened the bucket and it's like the whole class. There's 25 flyers, like with things. And I said, wait, is my whole class? She said, yeah, it's your whole class. We had 2 teachers that quit last year with this class. 1 retired. And then we were able to get a long-term sub for the end of the year. And I'm like, okay, I don't remember many classroom management classes, but I'm like, I'm going to do my best. And this was a class where, again, it was a charter school. So I have kids with behavior, with IEPs, with everything combined, and I had this little boy that was very aggressive, used to get very angry. And he was like, he had a lot of trauma in his life, this cute little boy, but he used to get really angry and then he will just lose it. Like everybody said, he'll get mad and he'll be throwing chairs, tables, everything. So, just be careful. So I'm in class. It's like week 1. At the end of the week, the kids are coloring in 2nd grade, and a kid asked him to use the marker that he was using, and the boy's like, no. Well, a couple of minutes went by, and the boy saw the marker on the table and grabbed the marker and started, coloring. And this boy got so mad, and he picked up the chair and just threw the chair across the room. I had no clue what to do. I was like, oh my goodness, what do I do? What do I do? So I went and grabbed his backpack, and I opened the door of my room, and I threw the backpack to the playground. And he looked at me and said, that was my backpack. And I said, that was my chair. So if you don't throw my stuff away, I will respect yours. Yeah. Never, ever again had an issue with him, to the point that he saved space with my desk. Every time he needed a break, he went to my desk.
I think that building those relationships made that possible, right?
Yeah.
Loving that kid made that possible.
Oh.
Also, holding him accountable.
Yeah.
I had, let me grab her. This little girl goes to school with me, and I had a kid that did stuff like that too, and would throw tables and chairs and desks. And so we had to sit down and have a serious conversation of, I understand what your IEP says. I understand what your mom's saying, but here's what happens in our classroom, because it's ours. And that dog, she can't protect herself like a kid that's getting something thrown at them, and not that a kid should be scared of that. But we had to have a serious conversation. And I think sometimes in education, we forget that. We love kids, but we got to hold them accountable, because grace without accountability doesn't happen. And
100%.
Grace doesn't happen, right?
100%. And I do think, like you said, I always teach my kids that we're not a classroom, we're a family. And we are here. And I always tell the kids, if you do something dumb, come to me. I will be your first person to be there next to you, hold your hand. But if you don't come to me and I hear from others, I'll turn you in. I'm like, and that's the thing. Like, they do something, they come to me, and I feel bad, and blah blah blah. But I hold my kids accountable, and you know what? They respect that. They do. And they do 100%. And I can tell you, in my 19 years of teaching, I would never say that I had a bad class. Have I had students with behaviors? Absolutely. But have I ever had a class that made me say, I'm done teaching? Never. And I have classes from 25 kids to 40. And I have never, because we always build a sense of community, a family. We're a family. We're here together. We're here to support each other. But we're making each other accountable as well, because we're not going to learn if we don't do that.
Yeah, and I think the kids, really respect the fact that you are willing to have difficult conversations. It's not a yelling. It's not a raising my voice. It's not a beating on my chest or hitting things to get your attention. It's a focused, measured, serious conversation.
Yeah, and they care. Like you guys were asking me the difference between kinder and 8th grade. Well, when I was teaching 1st and 2nd, if, I will tell the kids, you guys don't break my heart, because, we break it in pieces. I do have super glue. We can put it back together, but, we just need to be careful. Well, obviously I can't do that with my 8th graders, but they do understand, that if we make mistakes, we can talk about it. We can learn from them. We don't hide them. We don't pretend they didn't happen. We learn from them. So it's different between the ages, but we do have those conversations. In my district, student voice is very big, and I do respect their voices, so they know that they can come and talk to me no matter what. So
do you think that that's what makes your classroom such a powerful place? Because at least I remember when I was in school, students didn't have a voice, right? It was, you listen to what the teacher said, you do what they say, and if you break the rules, you're going to the principal's office, we're calling your parents, something like that. But when you share that authority, you let go of some power and give it back to the kids. Man, we all grow. At least in my experience, that's how it seems.
Yeah. Well, I think that we all grow, not just the kids in my classroom. I do it every day, every week, every year with my kids. That's something that I always teach them. I mean, you're not just learning, I'm learning too. Maybe the first time I had this problem with a student is my first time. So I'm learning as well how to fix this, how to help you. I think the kids feel like they have a place where they can, you know, feel comfortable that being wrong, it's okay, and again, we were talking about, as a teacher, I'm wrong too all the time. I make mistakes, and they make mistakes in the, I don't know, in the playground. I make mistakes sometimes in my classes. I make mistakes when I'm discussing something. I make mistake when I'm doing a training. We all make mistakes.
Yeah, everybody makes mistakes. I think giving kids, you mentioned this earlier, space to experience making mistakes, not only academically, not only socially, but also emotionally, right? The kid that got so upset they threw this chair. They don't know how else to manage these huge emotions or these big feelings. And so we have to talk them through and walk them through and give them the space and the safe community that we've developed, so that
Yeah.
next time they have these big emotions, they're not going to react. They're going to handle and manage.
Well, and teaching them that they're not the only one. I mean, we all have these emotions,
Yeah.
but we have all, I mean, not all of us, but some of us have been able to learn how to control them, how to keep them inside when they know that it's okay to share or not, and they don't. So we're here to support them. It's not that there's something wrong with them. And that's the problem. I have a little boy that is not in my class, but every time he gets angry, he walks out of the classroom, or every time somebody screams at him, he loses his cool and he doesn't know how to deal with that. So he leaves the room. So now he calls me Bob the Builder because he says I fix things. So instead of saying hi, Miss Fernandez, like hi, Bob the Builder. But that's what I'm doing right now. I'm teaching him strategies.
Mm-hmm.
When you get angry, you can breathe, you can count, you can tell that person, hey, I'm getting a little upset right now, so I need a moment. Instead of you just walking out of the room, we can figure it out what works better for you based on what you're feeling in that moment. But we need to have time to figure out what is that emotion first, so we can find something to fix it. But again, I mean, we all have that. I mean, I've seen adults sometimes losing their cool. So
100% every day, right? There's not a day that goes past that I don't feel myself get red in the cheeks and
yeah.
And what you're talking about, though, is how do we embed that in everyday moments, right? Like, how do we teach kids that it's not just morning meeting, it's not just this time of the day that we talk about this. We show them every moment of the day. Hey, I'm having a hard time in math right now. This problem is really hard for me, instead of picking up the chair and throwing it. Or, gosh, I forgot to study for whatever quiz. This is how we handle this moment.
So I think one of the things that have really worked with me is sharing my own experiences with the kids. Like when you're saying, I'm having a hard time, well, I have had a hard time. Let me talk to you about what happened with me in that hard time and what I learned. I had got into a fight with my best friend. Well, let me talk to you about what happened and what I did and how we fixed it, and kids remember those things. And then when they're having a hard time, they remember, okay, so and so did this. I can do that as well. I think as teacher, we have had so many experiences where I think modeling the kids daily, they will learn. We can just go and do a lesson and expect them to be experts. We have to apply the lessons that we're teaching daily. It's part of our routines. The meetups are great, but that's not the only time I want them to talk about their emotions or their problems. If the kid had a problem after we do our meetup, I don't want them to wait until the next morning to share with me. So I think it's just, modeling daily and giving them that opportunity to be part of it.
Tell me more about meetups. I think there's tremendous power in getting people together. And Josh and I have talked to math instructors that have talked about how humans communicating about mathematical ideas is really powerful. But tell us more about meetups and how you use them in your classroom, what they are, where they come from, all of it.
So, we gather in the mornings and we do the typical things that we do in the morning, taking attendance, all that. And then we make a circle. And what we discuss is like if somebody has something that they want to share. So when I started with SEL and the SEL curriculum, it was more like, do you have any celebrations? And then you have a couple of students that will share something to celebrate. But then we introduced to the, do you have anything that is kind of causing you some, pain or hurt that you want to share? And we have this, norms, like we don't want names. We don't want to say Susie heard me at recess or she said something. So the kids started, at first it was kind of tough, like, wait, do you want me to talk to everybody about my issue? Or it was like they were uncomfortable, but then at the same time they felt like, what, you really want to know about what's going on about my life and at home? Just want to know about if I can multiply or I can read. You actually want to know that my heart is hurting right now. So we started it, and I was teaching 5th grade, and that's been the grade level that I taught the most. And the kids started feeling like it's okay for me to share. And I became a facilitator. It wasn't me finding a solution. Now it was the other classmates giving the kids advice, and then not just give them advice, but then they were like celebrating them. You can do this, it's okay to do this. And sometimes it didn't even happen in the meetups. Like I had a boy who was very upset one day after recess because he kept playing soccer and all his friends were hitting goalies and he couldn't, and he came to class and we were ready to start, reading, and he's like crying and he goes, Miss Fernandez, I've been practicing since kindergarten and I'm in 5th grade and I can't do this. I can't do a goalie. And, I'm just so upset, and everybody's like, it's okay. And I said, you know what? We're not going to read right now. We're going to all go outside and we're going to make you play, and we're not coming back in the classroom until you do your goalie. We all went outside and he kicked the ball a few times and he made it. And I'm filming because I have to document that. But my whole class went running to meet him and they were celebrating. So we went from like, here's a kid that is just like so upset because he can't do something in soccer. And then we went as a class and gave him that push to do it. And then we celebrated it as a family, as a class. So that was something that the kids started using, and they're like, okay, it's not just the teacher giving me a solution. Now my whole family here is here to support me. So that community, it's big things it's a big thing with Meetup. It's the community that everybody feels.
And what you're saying just reminds us that teaching it's a service job, right? It's scary.
It's
right
a love
now,
job. I think it's a love job more than a service. For me, it's love. It's not a service.
Yeah,
it's
right.
love.
It comes from the
love.
heart. It's empathy, right?
Yeah.
It's caring about other people and what they're doing and how to help them. Our district right now is going through a new curriculum change in math, and it's really hard. And I don't want to take away from the hardness that's happening with that. But Tom, maybe it was last year or 2 years ago, he was like, teaching's not rocket science. And what you're saying right now is teaching's not rocket science. We got to love kids for who they are. We're going to help them. We're going to do what's best for them. But we got to remember that some curriculum isn't going to help them learn. What's going to help them learn is our love, and that we stand there for them in the moments that are hard, and that we push them to be the best people that they can be.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And if you inspire them. I mean, I learn in my years of teaching, I have in so many different schools with so many different population. And I can tell you that I have breaking all the barriers where people think this school that has low income families is not going to be able to learn. It's not going to be able to have good grades. That's not true. They're not going to be able to have good assessments. That's not true. But I was the same teacher in all the schools. But I think what it really changes is the way you motivate the kids, how you get to them, to have them understand why this is important, not just to pass the test, not just to get the score, but why this is important, and kids value that. So I do think that teaching, it's not a service, it's a passion, it's a love. You can teach, but not everybody can teach a kid that will have a passion to learn. And I think that makes it a different. I can teach a kid what 2 + 2 is 4, but nobody's going to enjoy that if the kid's not engaged, and then the kid's going to do it again. There's going to teach another kid. So
I love that. I had the exact same conversation with a student today about how, man, paying attention is so important. And you get this answer right, and then you pay a little bit more attention, and then you get the next answer right, and then you pay a little bit more attention, and how it just kind of like snowballs once you get a student to realize that they have the power to really kind of guide their own journey.
Yeah, and how they get excited. I mean, anybody can go home and say, hey, I learned that 2 + 2 is 4. But then you have kids that go home and say, oh, my God, I did this awesome lesson about 2 + 2. And now I want to go to my little sister and teach her what 2 + 2 is, because I have such a good time learning. Yeah. So we can all teach, but, can we all motivate the kids to learn? Not everybody.
Not everybody. Hey, I love this. This has been so much fun. Thank you so much for your time, Christy. At the end of the show, we always ask one question. A long time ago, there was a song about what the world needs now, and it's really an earworm. If you start singing it, I can't stop. I'll probably stay up all night.
What the world needs now.
That's what I thought when I saw the title of this.
Yeah. What does the world need now?
We need more SEL. We need social emotional learning, and we don't only need it in schools, we need it everywhere. We need to teach everywhere all the skills that we have in the 5 competencies for SEL. We need to teach everybody how to make positive choices. We need to make everybody understand that we need to know and learn how to manage our stress, because we all have a stress. I think what the world needs is to make responsible decisions, because the decisions that the world are making are impacting everybody in the world. And all those are SEL skills. And so I will say what we do need in this world is SEL everywhere, not just in schools, everywhere.
If we can do that, especially in the grown-up world of social media, man, we're gonna do okay, right? If we don't have those keyboard warriors that are sitting there thinking about that, you're a human that just left that comment.
Yeah, we need to improve our relationships. We need to connect again. We have lost that. And I think social emotional learning does that. It's amazing that we're incorporating in the classrooms, but the world needs it. We need all our leaders to use social emotional learning when they're making decisions. So I would say we need more SEL.
Thank you, Christy. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. We're so thankful and appreciative that you took your time to listen. We hope that as you head out, you remember that the biggest factor that plays into student success is you. Your love, your passion, your empathy, your dedication is exactly what the world needs now. Thank you for all you do. Have a good one.